What if everything we've been told about space is a carefully constructed lie? Picture this: astronauts on a routine mission suddenly cut their live feed, their voices tense as they report something unbelievable just beyond the camera's view. Or consider the infamous Black Knight satellite, an enigmatic object orbiting Earth that some claim has been watching us for 13,000 years. These aren't scenes from a sci-fi movie. They're just a few of the countless mysteries that fuel the world of space conspiracy theories. From hidden lunar bases to government cover-ups of extraterrestrial contact, the cosmos is brimming with stories that defy official explanations. And today, we're diving deep into the 25 most shocking, bizarre, and downright chilling theories that suggest there's far more happening beyond our atmosphere than we've ever been led to believe. Think about the Apollo missions, the pinnacle of human achievement, right? But what if those iconic moon landings weren't exactly what they seemed? Whispers of staged footage, missing tapes, and oddly waving flags have persisted for decades, backed by anomalies that even NASA struggles to explain away. Or take the haunting stories of astronauts who allegedly encountered otherworldly beings, only to have their testimonies buried under layers of bureaucracy. It's enough to make you wonder, if space agencies are hiding the truth, what else might they be keeping from us? The deeper you look, the more the line between science and science fiction starts to blur, and that's where things get truly fascinating. This isn't just about doubting official narratives, it's about questioning the very fabric of what we think we know. From the mysterious pyramids spotted on Mars to the eerie signals picked up by radio telescopes that suggest intelligent design, the universe seems to be shouting secrets we're only beginning to decipher. And while skepticism is healthy, some of these theories come with evidence too compelling to ignore. So buckle up, because over the next 25 revelations, we'll explore the stories that challenge everything from textbook astronomy to the limits of human ingenuity. Whether you're a firm believer or a curious skeptic, one thing's for sure: by the end of this journey, you'll never look at the night sky the same way again. The first steps on the moon should have been humanity's crowning achievement, but what if those grainy black and white images were shot not in the Sea of Tranquility, but on a soundstage here on Earth? The idea that the Apollo 11 moon landing was faked isn't just some fringe belief. It's a theory backed by decades of scrutiny and strange inconsistencies. Take the American flag planted by Armstrong and Aldrin. Why does it appear to wave in footage when the moon has no atmosphere to create wind? Skeptics argue it's proof of a studio setup with a hidden fan or wire tugging at the fabric. NASA explanation: the flag's motion came from the force of being planted, and its rippled design gave the illusion of movement. Yet for many, that answer feels too convenient. Then there's the eerie absence of stars in the lunar sky. In every photo and video, the backdrop is pitch black, devoid of the glittering cosmos we'd expect to see. Defenders of the official story point to the camera settings: lunar daylight conditions washed out faint starlight, they say. But why then did no astronaut ever adjust their equipment to capture even a single star? Even stranger are the lighting anomalies. Shadows in the footage fall in multiple directions, as if multiple light sources were used, just like you'd find on a movie set. NASA insists uneven lunar terrain caused this effect, but the precision of these inconsistencies has kept skeptics digging. The most damning evidence, according to conspiracy theorists, lies in the lost tapes. Over 700 boxes of original Apollo 11 telemetry data vanished from NASA archives, labeled as misplaced, coincidence, or a deliberate cover-up. Then there's the curious case of Stanley Kubrick. The director of 2001: A Space Odyssey allegedly had the skills to fake the moon landing, and whispers persist that he was recruited to stage it. Some even claim his film contained cryptic clues admitting his involvement. Of course, Kubrick's family and NASA vehemently deny this, but the theory persists in the shadows. But here's the twist: scientists and historians have dismantled nearly every so-called proof of a hoax. Independent researchers recreated the flag's movement in vacuum chambers, proving it could sway without wind. The missing stars: modern astronauts on the International Space Station confirm cameras struggle to capture stars unless specifically adjusted, and those lighting oddities. Computer simulations show the moon's reflective surface and the lunar module's geometry could create those effects naturally. Even the lost tapes were later recovered in a government warehouse, though by then the myth had taken root. So why does this theory endure? Maybe it's human nature to distrust grand narratives, or maybe the idea that we never left Earth's grip is simply more thrilling than the truth. But consider this: over 400,000 people worked on Apollo, and not one credible whistleblower has ever stepped forward. The Soviets, itching to expose an American fraud, monitored the mission closely and never disputed its success. And the moon rocks brought back, they've been analyzed by labs worldwide and match no earthly geology. The evidence points to one conclusion, but in the world of conspiracy theories, doubt has a gravity all its own. When the Viking 1 orbiter captured an image of the Cydonia region of Mars in 1976, nobody at NASA expected it to spark one of the most enduring space mysteries of all time. But there it was, a vast, mile-long formation that bore an uncanny resemblance to a human face, complete with symmetrical eyes, a nose, and even what looked like a mouth. The so-called face on Mars became an instant sensation, with conspiracy theorists declaring it proof of an ancient alien civilization that once thrived on the red planet. Could this towering structure really be a monument left behind by extraterrestrials? Or was it just a trick of light and shadow on the barren Martian landscape? The original black and white image was grainy, but the resemblance to a human face was striking enough to fuel decades of speculation. Proponents of the artificial structure theory pointed to the precise angles and geometric symmetry, arguing that natural erosion couldn't create such a perfect visage. Some even claimed to spot additional features nearby: pyramids, ruins, and what looked like a crumbling city complex. The idea took hold in popular culture, inspiring books, documentaries, and even an episode of The X-Files. But then, in the late 90s, new high-resolution images from the Mars Global Surveyor spacecraft turned everything upside down. The updated photos showed the face in far greater detail, and under different lighting conditions, it appeared much less human-like. NASA scientists explained it as a heavily eroded mesa, a natural rock formation shaped by wind and time. The earlier face-like appearance, just an optical illusion caused by low-resolution shadows and the human brain's tendency to spot familiar patterns, a phenomenon called pareidolia, the same quirk that makes us see shapes in clouds or the man in the moon. Case closed, or so it seemed, but believers weren't ready to let go. Some argued that NASA had deliberately altered the later images to downplay the anomaly, citing inconsistencies in shadows and contours. Others pointed out that even in the newer pictures, the structure still retained a peculiar symmetry unlike typical Martian geology. And then there were the pyramids of Cydonia, angular formations nearby that to some looked far too precise to be random mountains. Mainstream scientists dismissed these as more examples of pareidolia, but the debate raged on. What makes the face on Mars theory so persistent? Perhaps it taps into something deeper, the hope that we're not alone, that the universe holds traces of intelligence beyond our own. Or maybe it's just human nature to seek meaning in the unknown. Either way, the truth remains elusive. While most researchers agree the face is a natural formation, the mystery lingers, and for some, that's evidence enough that Mars still has secrets to reveal. NASA has spent decades searching for signs of life beyond Earth, but what if they found proof long ago and decided to keep it under wraps? The idea that space agencies actively suppress evidence of extraterrestrial life isn't just wild speculation. It's a theory fueled by decades of puzzling discoveries, leaked documents, and testimony from those who claim to know the truth. Take the infamous Allen Hills meteorite, a rock from Mars that made headlines in 1996 when scientists announced it might contain fossilized microbial life. The tiny structures under the microscope looked eerily similar to bacteria, sparking a media frenzy and immediate skepticism. NASA's official stance was cautious, calling it evidence worthy of further study. But conspiracy theorists saw something else, a reluctant admission followed by a swift campaign to discredit the findings. Then there's the curious case of the Mars rat. In 2013, a photo from the Curiosity rover showed what appeared to be a small, rodent-like creature nestled between rocks. NASA dismissed it as a trick of pareidolia, just another oddly shaped stone. But why would a space agency so dedicated to the search for life be so quick to shrug off potential proof? Skeptics argue it's part of a pattern. Every time evidence surfaces, it's explained away or buried under layers of bureaucracy. Former employees have added fuel to the fire. Dr. Richard Hoover, a NASA astrobiologist, claimed to have found microscopic fossils in multiple meteorites, only to have his research marginalized. Others, like contractor Donna Hare, allege that NASA airbrushed UFOs out of satellite images before release. The plausibility of such a cover-up hinges on one question: why would they do it? Some believe it's about control, avoiding societal panic, or protecting religious and economic institutions. Others suggest it's a matter of national security. If advanced extraterrestrial technology exists, governments would race to weaponize it first. There's also the more mundane explanation. Science moves slowly, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. NASA's job is to avoid false positives, not hide the truth, but that hasn't stopped cultural impact. From the X-Files to viral internet debates, the idea of a cosmic cover-up has shaped how we view space agencies, less as explorers, more as gatekeepers. Yet for all the speculation, hard proof remains elusive. Leaked documents often turn out to be misidentified or taken out of context. Whistleblowers' claims are difficult to verify. And while NASA transparency isn't perfect, they've released terabytes of raw data to the public, inviting amateur sleuths to scour every pixel. Maybe the truth isn't hidden in a vault, maybe it's just waiting to be found in the next Martian soil sample or distant exoplanet's atmosphere. Or maybe, as the conspiracy theorists warn, we're not being told the whole story. One thing's certain: until we have undeniable proof, the debate will rage on. Imagine an object lurking in Earth's orbit, silent, ancient, and undetectable to the untrained eye. That's the legend of the Black Knight satellite, a supposed alien probe or relic that's been circling our planet for thousands of years, watching humanity's every move. The story begins not with modern radar, but with Nikola Tesla himself. In 1899, while experimenting with radio waves, Tesla picked up strange, repeating signals he couldn't explain. He speculated they might be extraterrestrial in origin, a bold claim that would later become a cornerstone of the Black Knight myth. Decades passed, and in the 1930s, Norwegian engineers reported similar unexplained radio echoes, dubbing them the long-delayed echoes. But it wasn't until the Cold War that things got truly bizarre. In 1960, the U.S. Defense Department allegedly detected a mysterious dark object in polar orbit, an impossible feat at the time, since neither America nor the Soviet Union had yet launched satellites into that trajectory. Newspapers briefly covered the story before it vanished from mainstream discussion, only to resurface in conspiracy circles as proof of an otherworldly presence. The lore snowballed from there. Astronauts on early space missions, like Gordon Cooper during Project Mercury, reported seeing strange metallic objects outside their capsules. Declassified documents referenced unknown satellites labeled Black Knight, and grainy photographs from later shuttle missions appeared to show a jagged, tumbling shape against the blackness of space, far from any known human-made debris. So what's really up there? Scientists offer far less sensational explanations. The signals Tesla heard were likely natural radio waves from pulsars or atmospheric interference. The 1960 detection, probably a misidentified piece of space junk or a stray radar echo. As for those eerie astronaut sightings, spacecraft insulation, discarded equipment, or even ice crystals reflecting sunlight can look unsettlingly artificial when floating in zero gravity. The most damning evidence against the Black Knight theory came in 1998, when photos from a space shuttle mission revealed the so-called satellite was actually a thermal blanket lost during an earlier spacewalk, a mundane explanation that did little to quell the myth. Yet the legend persists. Ancient astronaut theorists point to Sumerian texts describing watchers in the sky, while others claim the satellite's orbit defies known physics, suggesting advanced technology. Modern astronomers counter that no credible tracking data supports its existence, and anything large enough to match the descriptions would have been spotted by now. But perhaps that's the allure, the idea that something could be hiding in plain sight, a relic of a forgotten cosmic visit. Whether it's space debris or something far stranger, the Black Knight endures as a symbol of humanity's deepest question: are we alone, or have we been observed all along? What if the U.S. military has been operating a secret space fleet for decades, one with technology so advanced it makes NASA achievements look primitive? That's the jaw-dropping claim behind the Solar Warden conspiracy, a theory alleging the existence of a classified space program running since the 1980s, complete with faster-than-light travel and interstellar missions. The story surfaced through a web of anonymous leaks, whistleblower testimonies, and declassified documents that hint at something far beyond public aerospace capabilities. At the heart of it all is a tantalizing question: could humanity have already cracked the code of deep space exploration without anyone knowing? The first breadcrumbs appeared in 2006, when an anonymous insider posted on a government forum about a covert space wing operating under the U.S. Air Force. They called it Solar Warden, a fleet of 8 cigar-shaped motherships and 43 smaller scout ships, allegedly patrolling not just our solar system but neighboring star systems. The whistleblower claimed these vessels used propulsion systems harnessing zero-point energy, a theoretical form of infinite power dismissed by mainstream science. Even wilder, they insisted the program had made contact with extraterrestrial civilizations, trading technology under agreements kept hidden from the public. Skeptics dismissed it as science fiction, but then came a bizarre twist. In 2010, a British hacker named Gary McKinnon claimed he'd stumbled onto proof while probing Pentagon networks. McKinnon described finding an Excel spreadsheet titled Non-Terrestrial Officers, a list of names under what appeared to be a space-based military roster. Even more chilling, he alleged discovering images of UFOs hidden in NASA files, including one of a large tubular object floating near Earth. U.S. prosecutors called him the biggest military hacker of all time and sought his extradition, though McKinnon maintained he was only searching for evidence of suppressed free energy technology. Was his discovery a smoking gun or just misinterpreted data? The theory gained more traction when former military personnel stepped forward. Retired U.S. Army Command Sergeant Major Robert Dean claimed in interviews that he'd seen classified NATO documents describing a galactic federation of alien species and humanity's place in it. Another supposed insider, aerospace engineer William Tompkins, authored books alleging he'd worked on secret space programs involving reptilian allies and anti-gravity craft. These testimonies, while explosive, share a common problem: verifiable evidence is scarce. Tompkins' claims, for instance, contradict known physics, and no independent whistleblower with security clearance has ever produced concrete documentation. So why does Solar Warden persist? Part of its allure lies in the very real and very classified world of black-budget projects. The U.S. government has a history of developing advanced aerospace tech in secrecy, like the stealth fighter or the SR-71 Blackbird. And let's not forget the Pentagon's 2020 confirmation of UFOs, now called UAPs, tracked by military pilots. If such mysteries exist within Earth's atmosphere, what might be lurking beyond it? Critics argue that interstellar travel remains mathematically implausible, and maintaining a fleet of that scale would require infrastructure impossible to hide. Yet believers counter that the same was once said about atomic bombs or moon landings until they happened. Perhaps the most compelling argument against Solar Warden is the simplest: leaks rarely stay leaks forever. From Watergate to Snowden, history shows that monumental secrets eventually find daylight. If humanity had already reached the stars, wouldn't someone, a scientist, an engineer, a disgruntled pilot, have come forward with irrefutable proof? Or is the program so compartmentalized that even its operators don't grasp the full picture? Until a piece of the puzzle emerges that can't be explained away, Solar Warden remains suspended between shadow and speculation, a reflection of our deepest hopes and fears about what might really be happening in the void above us. What if humans aren't just planning to go to Mars? What if we're already there? That's the explosive claim behind one of the most persistent space conspiracy theories, that a secret Mars colony has been operational for decades, hidden from public view by governments and space agencies. The idea might sound like pure science fiction, but proponents point to a trail of puzzling evidence: leaked images showing what appear to be artificial structures, whistleblower testimonies, and NASA's sudden, intense focus on Mars missions. Could there be truth to the rumors, or is this just another case of overactive imaginations interpreting shadows and rocks as something more sinister? Take the infamous Mars City photos. In 2015, an image from NASA's Curiosity rover went viral, showing what looked like the crumbling remains of a stone archway, something eerily reminiscent of ancient Earth architecture. Skeptics dismissed it as a wind-carved rock formation, but believers countered that the angles were too precise, too deliberate. Then there's the Mars Pyramid, a near-perfect geometric structure spotted in another rover image, its smooth faces seeming to defy natural erosion. NASA explanation: pareidolia again, our brains seeking familiar shapes in random geology. But when similar anomalies keep appearing across different missions, it's hard not to wonder, could these be the ruins of a lost civilization, or even proof of a hidden human outpost? The theory gains more traction when you examine NASA's abrupt pivot toward Mars in recent years. Missions like Perseverance, InSight, and the planned Mars Sample Return program suggest an urgency that goes beyond mere scientific curiosity. Conspiracy theorists argue this sudden focus masks a darker truth: that these public missions are cover for classified operations, like supplying a clandestine colony or reverse engineering alien tech found on the surface. Some even claim that secret astronaut teams were sent to Mars as early as the 1970s, citing supposed leaks from insider sources. One particularly wild allegation: that legendary astronaut Buzz Aldrin's cryptic tweet in 2019, "We are all in," was a coded reference to humanity's presence on Mars. Of course, the scientific hurdles to a Mars colony are immense. The planet's thin atmosphere offers no protection from deadly radiation, and temperatures plummet to -80 degrees Fahrenheit at night. Growing food would be a nightmare, and any colony would need constant resupply from Earth, hard to conceal given global satellite tracking. Then there's the biggest question: why keep it secret? Proponents argue it's about controlling revolutionary technology or preventing mass panic. But skeptics note that no leak, no matter how classified, stays hidden forever. If humans were on Mars, wouldn't someone, a disgruntled engineer, a rogue astronaut, have spilled the truth by now? Yet the allure of the theory persists, fueled by our fascination with the unknown and the tantalizing possibility that we're not alone, or that we've become the pioneers we always dreamed of being. Until a rover stumbles onto a smokestack or a live feed, accidentally catches a space-suited figure waving from a crater, the Mars colony cover-up will remain suspended between conspiracy and fantasy. But in a universe full of mysteries, sometimes the wildest ideas are the hardest to shake. The official story tells us Yuri Gagarin was the first human to reach space in 1961, but whispers persist that others went before him and never came back. The legend of the vanishing cosmonauts suggests Soviet space missions suffered catastrophic failures in the years leading up to Gagarin's triumph, with lost crews erased from history to maintain the illusion of communist superiority. The most chilling piece of evidence, a series of alleged radio intercepts captured by amateur astronomers across Europe that seemed to capture doomed astronauts gasping their final words as their craft spun out of control. The story begins with the Giudica Cordiglia brothers, two Italian radio enthusiasts who claim to have recorded these transmissions starting in the late 1950s. Their most infamous tape, dated November 1960, features a faint female voice, purportedly cosmonaut Ludmila Tokavi, breathing rapidly before uttering, "I see fire. I'm burning," before the signal cuts out. Another intercept from May 1961 captures a man's labored breathing as he reports his ship breaking apart, followed by a final, desperate plea in Russian, "Someone must tell my wife I love her." If authentic, these recordings would rewrite spaceflight history, revealing a hidden toll of lives sacrificed in the Cold War's shadows. Soviet archives insist these tapes are fabrications, either misinterpreted signals or deliberate Western disinformation. They point out that no female cosmonauts were officially trained until years later, and no missing persons records match the alleged crew, but anomalies linger. Western intelligence agencies reportedly tracked multiple Soviet launch attempts that vanished from official records. French journalists in the 1960s uncovered a memo referencing a failed orbital insertion in 1960, while declassified CIA documents mention unconfirmed cosmonaut fatalities during testing. Even Gagarin's own flight raised eyebrows. His Vostok capsule's erratic re-entry suggests engineers were still working out fatal flaws. Then there's the eerie case of Valentin Bondarenko. Officially, he died in a ground training accident in 1961, but conspiracy theorists argue his death was staged to cover up a spaceflight disaster. Photos of his charred training capsule show damage inconsistent with a pure oxygen fire, fueling speculation it was actually a recovered spacecraft. The Soviets, notorious for airbrushing failures from history, like the Netherlands catastrophe that killed over 100 rocket engineers in 1960, certainly had the means to bury the truth. But could such a cover-up really hold? Modern researchers have debunked key elements of the Giudica Cordiglia tapes. Linguistic analysis reveals the alleged cosmonauts' accents don't match any known Soviet region, and some phrases use uncharacteristic grammar. The female voice may have been a misidentified test transmission or even atmospheric interference. As for the lost launches, early Soviet rockets were notoriously unreliable. Many likely exploded before reaching orbit, carrying no crew. Still, the absence of hard evidence doesn't entirely dispel the mystery. In a regime that erased political dissidents from photographs, purging failed cosmonauts wouldn't be out of character. Perhaps the vanishing cosmonauts endure as legend because they embody a darker side of the space race, one where human lives were expendable in the quest for propaganda victories. Or maybe it's simpler. We're drawn to stories of voices calling from the void, reminders that history isn't always written by the victors, but sometimes whispered by the lost. Until Soviet archives fully open, if they ever do, these phantom astronauts will remain hovering between fact and folklore, their true fate as distant as the stars they may have reached. We've all gazed up at the moon, that familiar silver disk hanging in the night sky, but what if it isn't what it seems? What if, beneath its cratered surface, the moon isn't a natural satellite at all, but an ancient, hollow structure placed there by forces beyond our understanding. This is the core of the hollow moon hypothesis, a theory that challenges everything we think we know about Earth's closest celestial neighbor. At first glance, it sounds like pure science fiction, but proponents point to a series of bizarre anomalies that mainstream science struggles to explain. From its uncannily precise orbit to seismic readings that defy logic, the moon behaves in ways no ordinary rocky body should. Let's start with the most glaring oddity, the moon's orbit. Unlike every other natural satellite in our solar system, our moon follows a near-perfect circular path around Earth with almost no wobble or variation. Even stranger, it's the exact right size and distance to perfectly eclipse the Sun during a total solar eclipse. A statistical coincidence so unlikely that some mathematicians have called it suspicious. Then there's the moon's density. While it appears massive, calculations based on gravitational pull suggest it's far lighter than it should be for its size. When Apollo astronauts placed seismometers on the lunar surface during the 1960s and 70s, the results were chilling. Striking the moon with discarded rocket parts sent vibrations echoing for hours as if it were a colossal bell, behavior unheard of in solid celestial bodies. Mainstream science, of course, has explanations. The moon's formation is widely attributed to the giant impact hypothesis, where a Mars-sized object called Theia collided with early Earth, ejecting debris that eventually coalesced into our satellite. As for the seismic data, geologists argue the moon's dry, rigid crust allows shockwaves to travel unusually far, while its lighter density stems from a lack of heavy iron core. But hollow moon theorists aren't convinced. They highlight ancient myths from the Greek Selene to the Zulu legend of the moon being brought here by otherworldly beings, as early human memories of its artificial arrival. Even more compelling, Soviet astrophysicists Mikhail Vasin and Alexander Shcherbakov published a paper in 1970 titled, "Is the Moon the Creation of Alien Intelligence?" suggesting its surface could be a titanium-rich shell hiding an interior unlike anything we've imagined. So who or what could have built it and why? Some speculate it's an alien observation post, its craters disguising entrances to vast internal machinery. Others propose it's a relic of an advanced prehistoric human civilization, a piece of forgotten technology floating just out of reach. The wildest versions suggest it's a kind of cosmic ark, carrying life or knowledge from another star system. Skeptics counter that these ideas ignore Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually correct, and that the moon's quirks are just signs of how little we truly understand planetary formation. Yet the questions linger. Why have no other moons in our solar system shown similar seismic behavior? Why does lunar rock contain isotopes identical to Earth's, as if they share the same origin, while Theia's remnants are nowhere to be found? Until we drill deeper than the few inches of surface dust brought back by Apollo, the hollow moon hypothesis will remain a tantalizing enigma. Whether it's a natural wonder or something far stranger, one thing's certain: our silent celestial companion hides secrets we've only begun to unravel. For centuries, astronomers have scoured the skies for hidden worlds, but none have captured the imagination or sparked panic, like the elusive planet X, better known to conspiracy theorists as Nibiru. According to the legend, this rogue planet, invisible to the naked eye, is hurtling toward Earth on a deadly collision course, an apocalyptic event prophesied not by modern scientists but by ancient Sumerian clay tablets. The story begins with Zecharia Sitchin, a controversial author who claimed in the 1970s that his translations of Sumerian texts revealed an advanced alien race called the Anunnaki. These beings allegedly came from Nibiru, a 12th planet in our solar system with an elongated 3,600-year orbit that occasionally brings it terrifyingly close to Earth. Sitchin's interpretation went viral, merging with doomsday lore to create a modern myth that refuses to die. but where's the proof? Believers point to a mix of astronomical anomalies and historical coincidences. In the 1980s, NASA-era satellite detected unexplained heat signatures in deep space, sparking brief speculation about an undiscovered planet, though scientists later attributed them to distant galaxies. Then there's the peculiar clustering of orbits beyond Neptune, which some astronomers argue could hint at a massive, unseen object tugging on these distant worlds. Mainstream science calls this hypothetical object Planet 9, a potential ice giant 10 times Earth's mass, but they stress it poses zero threat to our planet. Conspiracy theorists, however, see a cover-up. They claim NASA knows Nibiru is real but downplays it to avoid global panic, citing leaked emails and blurry photos of second suns as evidence. The doomsday predictions, though, keep missing the mark. Remember the frenzy around December 21, 2012. The Mayan calendar's end date was hijacked by Nibiru alarmists who swore the planet would eclipse the sun, triggering earthquakes and pole shifts. When nothing happened, the deadline simply shifted to 2017, then 2019, then any day now. Astronomers roll their eyes, noting that an object large enough to wreak havoc would have been spotted by telescopes years in advance. Even amateur stargazers track near-Earth asteroids. Hiding a planet the size of Neptune is laughably impossible. Yet the theory evolves, adapting like a cosmic game of whack-a-mole. So why does Nibiru endure? Part of its staying power lies in the human psyche. Ancient cultures from the Babylonians to the Hopi told stories of celestial destroyers, reflecting our primal fear of the unknown. Today, that fear latches onto Nibiru, a tangible villain for an age of existential threats. There's also the seductive appeal of secret knowledge, the idea that elites are hiding the truth from ordinary people. But perhaps the simplest explanation is this. In a universe full of mysteries, the line between myth and reality blurs just enough to keep us wondering. Until someone produces a photo of Nibiru casting shadows on Jupiter, the debate will rage on, not in scientific journals, but in the shadowy realm where astronomy meets mythology. Antarctica, the most remote, inhospitable continent on Earth, a frozen desert where temperatures plunge to -100 degrees Fahrenheit and ice sheets bury secrets miles deep. Yet beneath this lifeless expanse, conspiracy theorists claim something extraordinary lurks. Hidden UFO bases, lost alien cities, or even remnants of a Nazi superweapons program. The stories sound like the plot of a pulp sci-fi novel, but they persist, fueled by strange satellite images, classified military missions, and a long history of explorers reporting eerie anomalies. So what's really going on at the bottom of the world? The Nazi connection might be the most bizarre thread in this icy web. Near the end of World War II, as Allied forces closed in, high-ranking German officials allegedly fled to Antarctica aboard U-boats carrying blueprints for advanced aircraft. Some claim they established a secret colony called Neuschwabenland, named after an expedition Germany had launched to the continent in 1938. Whispers of Nazi flying saucers craft built using reverse-engineered alien technology emerged in the post-war years, with fringe researchers pointing to declassified documents describing Germany's obsession with occult science and exotic propulsion systems. The most infamous incident, Operation Highjump in 1946, when Admiral Richard Byrd led a massive U.S. naval task force to Antarctica. Officially, it was a research mission, but conspiracy theorists insist Byrd was sent to root out the Nazi stronghold. When the operation abruptly ended months ahead of schedule, rumors swirled that Byrd's fleet had encountered resistance from otherworldly forces. Satellite images have added fuel to the fire. In recent years, Google Earth sleuths have flagged bizarre formations under the ice, geometric patterns resembling massive structures, smooth domes protruding from glaciers, and even what looks like a colossal staircase leading into the void. Scientists dismiss these as natural formations, glacial crevices, wind-carved ridges, or optical illusions caused by radar imaging. But when combined with reports from researchers stationed on the continent, the mystery deepens. Some claim to have witnessed unexplained light streaking across the sky, while others describe strange, metallic sounds resonating from beneath the ice. In 2017, a team of Russian scientists drilling into Lake Vostok, a subglacial body of water untouched for 15 million years, abruptly halted their work, sparking speculation they'd encountered something they weren't supposed to find. Logistically, the idea of a hidden Antarctic base strains credibility. The continent is a logistical nightmare: no sunlight for months, hurricane-force winds, and supply lines stretching thousands of miles. Building anything there would require resources visible to global satellite surveillance, and yet the secrecy surrounding certain operations raises eyebrows. Why do multiple nations, including the US and Russia, maintain heavily guarded research stations in the same suspiciously clustered region? Why are civilian flights banned from vast swaths of airspace? Skeptics argue it's about territorial claims and sensitive climate research, but believers see a coordinated effort to conceal the truth. The most compelling counterargument comes from Antarctica's geological history. Satellite scans confirm the continent hides mountain ranges and lakes rivaling those on other continents, all preserved under ice for millions of years. If ancient alien ruins existed, they'd likely be crushed or distorted by glacial movement. And while Nazi UFOs make for thrilling fiction, declassified records show Germany's wartime tech, though advanced, was still firmly grounded in known physics. Still, the allure of hidden Antarctic mysteries persists because in a world where everything feels mapped and explained, the idea that something extraordinary could still be waiting under the ice is impossible to resist. Whether it's Nazi gold, alien outposts, or just the human brain seeking patterns in the snow, Antarctica remains the last great frontier for conspiracy and discovery alike. The official record states that Apollo 17 was NASA's final lunar mission, but what if the program secretly continued, uncovering something so extraordinary it had to be buried? That's the explosive claim behind Apollo 20, an alleged classified mission that supposedly journeyed to the moon in secret to investigate a colossal alien spacecraft resting in the shadows of a crater. The story begins with a series of leaked videos in 2007, uploaded by a user named Retiredaf, who claimed to be a former Air Force technician named William Rutledge. The grainy footage showed what appeared to be a massive, cigar-shaped object half buried in lunar soil, its metallic surface pocked with strange geometric patterns. Even more shocking, a follow-up video seemingly revealed the craft's pilot, a humanoid figure with elongated features, preserved in the wreckage for untold millennia. The videos spread like wildfire, with believers dissecting every frame for clues. The spaceship, estimated to be over 3 miles long, bore no resemblance to known human technology. Its smooth, seamless hull lacked visible rivets or welds, and its tapered shape suggested advanced aerodynamics, though the moon has no atmosphere to necessitate such design. The so-called alien pilot, nicknamed Mona Lisa by Rutledge, appeared to be wearing a form-fitting suit, its face frozen in an expression some described as peaceful, others as eerily vacant. Rutledge insisted the mission, a joint U.S.-Soviet operation, had retrieved artifacts and biological samples before being abruptly terminated. But when pressed for proof, he vanished, leaving only the videos and a trail of unanswered questions. Skeptics were quick to poke holes in the story. The Apollo program's budget and infrastructure were public knowledge. Hiding additional launches would have required thousands of conspirators to maintain silence. The Soviet Union, embroiled in the space race, had no record of collaborating with NASA on covert lunar missions. As for the footage, digital forensics experts noted inconsistencies in lighting and shadow angles, suggesting studio fabrication. The alien body, while unsettlingly detailed, shared anatomical quirks with mannequins used in special effects workshops. Even the location didn't add up. The claimed site near the crater Isaac D had been photographed by orbiters with no sign of wreckage. Yet the mystery deepens when you consider the gaps in NASA's own records. Apollo missions 18 through 20 were officially cancelled due to budget cuts, but some hardware and flight plans had already been developed. Conspiracy theorists argue these missions were repurposed for classified objectives, pointing to oddities like astronaut Eugene Cernan's cryptic comment about other Apollo missions the public never saw. Declassified documents from the era also reveal serious discussions about lunar bases and extended stays plans that seemingly evaporated overnight. Could Apollo 20 have been a black ops mission disguised as a cancellation? The most compelling counterargument lies in physics. Landing near a 3-mile-long object would have required pinpoint navigation, yet the footage shows no blast craters or disturbance from the lunar module's descent. The moon's lack of erosion means any wreckage would remain pristine for billions of years, yet no other nation's orbiters or modern satellites have spotted the craft. As for Mona Lisa, forensic biologists note that preservation in a vacuum would mummify tissue, not leave it supple as the video implies. So why does Apollo 20 endure as legend? Part of its appeal is the romance of forbidden knowledge, the idea that humanity's greatest adventure didn't end with flags and footprints, but with a secret that redefines our place in the cosmos. It's also a reflection of our times. In an age of deepfakes and misinformation, the line between fact and fiction feels thinner than ever. Whether the videos were an elaborate hoax or a glimpse of something hidden, one thing's certain: the moon still holds mysteries we've only begun to uncover. We always see the same face of the moon, but what lurks on the side permanently turned away from Earth? The far side, often mistakenly called the dark side, has been a magnet for conspiracy theories ranging from hidden alien bases to remnants of a last-ditch Nazi refuge. Unlike the familiar face we observe, this hemisphere remains shrouded in mystery, not because it's devoid of sunlight. It receives just as much illumination as the near side, but because tidal locking keeps it forever turned away from prying human eyes. This cosmic quirk has fueled speculation for decades, with some claiming that the very forces preventing us from seeing it are no accident. The theory gained traction in the 1950s when amateur astronomers reported strange flashes of light emanating from the far side's craters, flashes too rhythmic to be natural. These observations coincided with rumors that Nazi scientists fleeing Germany's collapse had established a lunar stronghold using salvaged advanced technology. Proponents point to Operation Paperclip, the U.S. program that recruited former Nazi engineers as potential cover for a more sinister exchange, their expertise in exchange for silence about what they'd already built. The Soviets allegedly pursued similar leads, with classified documents hinting at lunar reconnaissance missions targeting anomalous structures. Then there's the curious case of the lunar radio silence. The far side is uniquely shielded from Earth radio noise, making it an ideal spot for sensitive astronomical observations, or, as conspiracy theorists suggest, covert communications. When China's Chang'e 4 probe landed there in 2019, the first human-made object to do so, images revealed an unusually smooth crater floor, some interpreted as evidence of artificial leveling. Mainstream scientists dismissed it as volcanic plains, but the absence of high-resolution public data from certain regions keeps suspicions alive. But let's dissect the science. Tidal locking occurs when a celestial body's rotation syncs with its orbit, a phenomenon seen across the solar system. The moon's far side isn't eternally dark. It experiences day-night cycles just like the near side. However, its geology differs starkly. While the visible side boasts vast lava plains, the far side is rugged, pockmarked with deeper craters. This asymmetry puzzles astronomers, with some suggesting Earth's gravity preferentially pulled lava flows toward the near side billions of years ago. So why the enduring myths? Part of its practicality. The far side's inaccessibility makes it the perfect blank canvas for conspiracy. Until recently, only grainy satellite images fueled speculation. Even now, with modern probes, anomalies persist. In 2012, NASA's Grail mission detected strange gravitational fluctuations beneath the surface, which some interpreted as hollow chambers, though scientists attribute them to ancient magma tunnels. And then there's the Von Karman crater, where unusual magnetic readings sparked whispers of metallic megastructures. Critics argue that hiding bases on the moon would be logistically absurd. Solar radiation, micrometeorite bombardment, and the lack of atmosphere make sustained habitation nearly impossible without massive infrastructure that would have been spotted by now. Plus, any Nazi lunar colony would have required supplies from Earth, a trail impossible to conceal. Yet believers counter that if advanced civilizations or breakaway human factions possessed technology beyond our understanding, the rules change entirely. Perhaps the most compelling argument against these theories is also the simplest. The far side's isolation works both ways. If someone or something were operating there, why would they stay silent? Wouldn't their activities eventually bleed into observable reality? Until a probe beams back images of swastika-adorned hangars or alien docking rings, the far side's secrets remain tantalizingly out of reach. But in a universe where truth often outpaces fiction, the line between conspiracy and discovery feels thinner than the moon's fragile exosphere. Saturn's rings have dazzled astronomers for centuries, but what if something far stranger lurks in the gas giant's orbit? Among the swirling storms and icy particles, conspiracy theorists claim there's an object that shouldn't exist, a colossal black cube, perfectly geometric and pulsing with mysterious energy. This isn't just sci-fi speculation. It's a theory rooted in alleged NASA imagery, occult symbolism, and even supposed extraterrestrial warnings. The so-called Saturn Cube has become a cornerstone of fringe astronomy, with some insisting it's an alien superstructure, an interdimensional portal, or even a cosmic prison holding ancient entities. But how much of this is grounded in reality, and how much is our brains playing tricks on us? The story begins with images from NASA's Cassini mission, which spent 13 years studying Saturn up close. In certain photos, particularly those capturing the planet's north pole, eagle-eyed sleuths noticed an odd, box-like shadow amid the hexagonal storm patterns. The shape seemed too precise to be natural, its edges razor-sharp against the swirling atmosphere. Compounding the mystery were claims from self-described remote viewers and occult researchers who linked the cube to ancient Sumerian texts describing a black sun associated with Saturn, a symbol tied to esoteric traditions and secret societies. Even more unsettling, some allege that crop circles and alleged alien communications have referenced the cube, warning of its role in a cosmic hierarchy controlling humanity. Scientists, of course, have a far less sensational explanation: pareidolia. This psychological phenomenon where our brains impose familiar shapes on random patterns is why we see faces in clouds or animals in rock formations. Saturn's north pole is a vortex of complex cloud formations, and the cube is likely an optical illusion created by overlapping storm edges and camera angles. Cassini's raw data, available to the public, shows no anomalous structures when analyzed frame by frame. The hexagonal storm itself, while bizarre, is a natural atmospheric phenomenon replicated in lab experiments with spinning fluids. As for the occult connections, historians point out that Saturn's association with mystical symbolism dates back to pre-Christian astrology, long before telescopes existed, a cultural motif, not evidence of hidden technology. Yet the theory persists, bolstered by the Internet's love of connective dots. Some researchers point to the cube's resemblance to the Kaaba in Mecca or the biblical Holy of Holies, suggesting a hidden archetype across religions. Others cite declassified CIA documents referencing formless entities trapped in geometric constructs, though these are likely metaphorical. The most outlandish twist: claims that Elon Musk's SpaceX mission patches, which occasionally feature hexagonal designs, are coded nods to the Saturn Cube's influence. Skeptics laugh, but the pattern-seeking brain thrives on such narratives. So why does this idea captivate us? Perhaps it's the sheer scale of the claim, a silent, perfect cube older than human civilization, orbiting a planet we've barely explored. Or maybe it's the darker implication: if such a structure exists, who or what put it there? Until another probe reaches Saturn's orbit, the cube will remain a Rorschach test for our collective imagination, as enigmatic as the planet it supposedly circles. And that's the irony. In our quest to uncover cosmic secrets, we might just be staring at our own reflections in the void. The idea of an invisible barrier encircling our solar system, a cosmic force field preventing us from venturing further, sounds like something straight out of Star Trek. Yet some conspiracy theorists argue it's not just science fiction, but a real phenomenon hiding in plain sight, with clues buried in decades of space probe data. At the heart of the mystery is the Voyager mission, humanity's farthest-flung emissary, which encountered strange disturbances as it crossed the threshold of interstellar space. These anomalies have sparked wild speculation. Could there really be a great galactic barrier out there, a boundary beyond which something or someone doesn't want us to pass? Let's start with the science. In 2012, Voyager 1 became the first human-made object to exit the heliosphere, the vast bubble of charged particles blown outward by the sun's solar wind. But as it crossed this boundary, called the heliopause, something unexpected happened. Instruments recorded a sudden spike in cosmic radiation particles so energetic they shouldn't exist in that region. Then, in 2020, Voyager 2 followed, detecting not just radiation but bizarre magnetic field fluctuations. To some, these readings weren't random noise. They were evidence of an artificial barrier, a kind of celestial fence erected by advanced extraterrestrials to corral humanity within our solar neighborhood. The theory gains traction when you consider Star Trek's uncanny parallels. In the show's lore, the Galactic Barrier was a purple-hued energy field at the galaxy's edge, damaging ships and unlocking psychic powers in crew members. While Voyager didn't encounter anything that dramatic, the coincidence is striking enough to fuel speculation. Could the writers have tapped into hidden knowledge, or is it just another case of life imitating art? Proponents of the barrier theory point to other oddities, like the Pioneer anomaly, where the Pioneer probes mysteriously slowed down while exiting the solar system, as further proof of unseen forces at work. Mainstream science, of course, has less sensational explanations. The heliopause is a turbulent region where solar wind clashes with interstellar medium, creating shock waves and particle acceleration. The cosmic rays Voyager detected, likely from supernova or other distant cataclysms, amplified by magnetic field interactions. As for the Pioneer anomaly, it was eventually traced to heat radiating unevenly from the probe's power sources, a mundane answer to what once seemed like defiance of physics. But conspiracy theorists aren't satisfied. They argue these explanations are too convenient, a smokescreen to hide the truth, that we're being kept in the dark, literally and figuratively, about what lies beyond. Here's where the debate gets philosophical. If an advanced civilization wanted to quarantine a species, wouldn't an energy barrier be the perfect tool, undetectable until you're right on top of it, and easily dismissed as natural phenomena by those who haven't seen it firsthand? Or is the human mind simply wired to see design in chaos, to interpret the universe's indifference as intention? Until another probe joins the Voyagers in interstellar space, the Great Galactic Barrier will remain suspended between myth and measurement. But one thing's certain, whether it's plasma physics or something far stranger, the edge of our solar system holds mysteries we've only begun to unravel. On April 14, 1561, the skies above Nuremberg, Germany, erupted in chaos. According to contemporary reports, townspeople witnessed an aerial battle unlike anything recorded before. A swirling mass of crosses, spheres, and crescent-shaped objects clashing violently above the city, some crashing to earth in plumes of smoke and flame. A vivid woodcut from the era depicts the scene, beams of light piercing the clouds, strange craft tumbling from the heavens, and terrified citizens pointing upward. To modern conspiracy theorists, this wasn't just an atmospheric oddity. It was a full-scale UFO dogfight, evidence of extraterrestrial visitation centuries before the term flying saucer even existed. But could there be a more terrestrial explanation hiding in the details? The Nuremberg event is often cited as one of the oldest documented UFO encounters, with believers highlighting the woodcut's precise, almost technical illustrations of disc and cylindrical objects. The accompanying text describes blood-colored rods and globes engaged in what appears to be coordinated combat, behavior inconsistent with known natural phenomena. Some interpretations go further, suggesting the event was a territorial skirmish between alien factions, or even a warning to humanity. The sheer specificity of the account sets it apart from medieval tales of dragons or divine omens, lending it an air of credibility among UFO researchers. Yet historians and astronomers propose far less sensational explanations. The 16th century was a golden age of celestial documentation, with scholars meticulously recording comets, eclipses, and auroras. In this context, the Nuremberg event bears striking resemblance to known atmospheric phenomena. Sun dogs, for instance, bright spots caused by sunlight refracting through ice crystals, can create the illusion of multiple light sources, sometimes appearing in Chinese letter cross formations. Meteor showers, particularly those with slow-moving fireballs, might explain the crashing objects. Even more compelling, the timing aligns with the annual Lyrid meteor shower, which peaks in mid-April. Could a spectacular Lyrid display, combined with unusual cloud conditions, have been misinterpreted as a heavenly war? The woodcut itself raises questions. While undeniably dramatic, it's worth noting that artistic conventions of the era often blended observation with symbolism. Celestial events were frequently depicted as divine portents, with artists embellishing details to convey moral or religious messages. The crosses and crescents in the illustration might represent spiritual conflict rather than physical craft, a common theme during the Protestant Reformation, which was raging across Europe at the time. Even the smoke described could have been ordinary cloud formations distorted by fear and the limited scientific understanding of the period. But the most intriguing angle lies in the psychology of perception. Human brains are wired to impose narrative order on chaos, especially when confronted with the unexplained. In 1561, the concept of spacecraft was unimaginable, but the idea of celestial armies, angels and demons battling in the skies, fit neatly into the worldview of the time. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the same event is reinterpreted through the lens of UFO mythology. It's a reminder that how we frame the unknown says as much about us as it does about the phenomenon itself. So where does that leave the Nuremberg UFO battle? Despite centuries of analysis, no single explanation fully satisfies. The event remains a Rorschach test for belief systems, proof of extraterrestrial visitation to some, a fascinating case of historical misidentification to others. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, not quite a dogfight between alien vessels, but not entirely a trick of light and atmosphere either. Until we uncover a lost diary or scientific instrument from the era, the skies over Nuremberg will keep their secrets, leaving us to wonder what really happened on that spring morning over 400 years ago. One night in 2011, an amateur astronomer pointed his telescope at the moon and captured something that sent shockwaves through online conspiracy circles, a massive, rolling wave appearing to ripple across the lunar surface like a phantom tide. The footage, uploaded to YouTube under the title Lunar Wave, shows what looks like a translucent distortion moving steadily from one side of the moon to the other, bending craters and mountains in its path before vanishing without a trace. Within weeks, the video amassed millions of views, with theorists declaring it proof of a hidden lunar atmosphere, a holographic projection masking alien structures, or even a glitch in the simulation some believe we're living in. But could something so surreal have a mundane explanation, or is this one anomaly that defies conventional science? The first clue lies in the footage itself. The wave doesn't behave like any known atmospheric or geological phenomenon. Earth's atmosphere can distort lunar images, a shimmering effect called seeing, but these fluctuations are random and chaotic, not a single coherent wave moving with purpose. The moon has no liquid water or atmosphere to generate such a ripple, and seismic activity there produces only faint tremors, nothing capable of visibly warping the surface. Some researchers suggested it might be a thermal wave from sudden temperature changes, but the moon's day-night cycle lasts weeks, far too slow to produce this rapid motion. Even more baffling, subsequent attempts to replicate the event failed. No other telescopes captured the wave despite thousands of observers scanning the same region. Then there's the digital forensics angle. Video experts who analyzed the clip noticed subtle inconsistencies. Pixels around the wave's edges didn't quite match the compression artifacts typical of raw telescope footage. This led to speculation that the wave was added in post-production, either as a deliberate hoax or as an editing mistake. The original uploader insisted the video was unaltered, but skeptics pointed out that even a smudge on the telescope lens or a drop of moisture on the camera sensor could create similar illusions when magnified and accelerated. Another theory, the wave might have been a rare instance of electromagnetic interference, with a nearby power source or electronic device briefly distorting the camera's signal. But what if the explanation lies beyond technology or trickery? Some astrophysicists have floated an even wilder possibility: gravitational lensing. On Earth, heat haze can bend light to create mirages, and in space, massive objects like black holes warp spacetime to distort distant starlight. Could an unseen object, a rogue planet, a dense asteroid, or something even stranger have passed between Earth and the Moon just long enough to bend the lunar image into a fleeting wave? The math is shaky at best, but it's a tantalizing thought. Ultimately, the lunar wave remains an enigma. Unlike other anomalies, it wasn't caught by multiple observers or professional observatories, leaving just a single piece of footage to puzzle over. Yet its staying power speaks to something deeper: our fascination with the moon as a canvas for mystery. For centuries, humans have projected their fears and fantasies onto its surface, from seeing faces in its craters to imagining civilizations hidden in its shadows. The lunar wave fits neatly into that tradition, a fleeting, almost poetic reminder that even in an age of high-resolution imaging, our closest celestial neighbor still knows how to keep a secret. Whether it's a trick of the light, a digital ghost, or something far stranger, one thing's certain: the moon still has a few surprises left. The grainy footage of Neil Armstrong's first steps on the moon is etched into history, but what if the version we've all seen is a heavily edited remnant of something far more revealing? That's the unsettling question at the heart of the missing Apollo tapes conspiracy, a theory alleging that the original high-quality recordings of the Apollo 11 moon landing contained anomalies NASA couldn't risk the public seeing. The story begins with a quiet admission from the space agency itself: 200,000 tapes documenting the Apollo program, including the pristine slow-scan television transmission from the lunar surface, were erased and reused in the 1970s due to a shortage of magnetic tape. Officially, this was a routine cost-cutting measure, but conspiracy theorists argue it was a deliberate purge of evidence that contradicted the official narrative. What makes these lost tapes so tantalizing is the technical quirk of how the footage was originally transmitted. The lunar module's camera used a non-standard slow scan format incompatible with broadcast TV. To convert it for live viewing, NASA pointed a conventional camera at a high-resolution monitor, creating the blurry, low-contrast images burned into public memory. The raw feeds, however, were crisp and detailed. Some claim they revealed oddities like unnatural shadows, reflections of unidentifiable objects, or even brief glimpses of structures on the lunar horizon. When NASA announced in 2006 that it had located restored copies of the original footage after a years-long search, skeptics pounced. The restored clips, they noted, showed no significant improvement in quality, leading to accusations that the agency had tampered with the materials before release. Then there's the curious case of the missing 2 minutes. During the moonwalk's live broadcast, Armstrong's feed abruptly cut to a blank screen for just over 2 minutes, a gap NASA attributed to a routine antenna switchover. But transcripts from mission control, declassified decades later, reveal technicians frantically discussing an unexpected object near the lunar module during the blackout. Was this a technical glitch or something stranger edited from the record? The truth is murky. Independent researchers using AI upscaling techniques on surviving footage claim to have spotted anomalies, like a brief flicker of something moving in the background, but these remain hotly debated. NASA, for its part, maintains that the erasures were innocent bureaucracy and that any anomalies are artifacts of analog signal degradation. But here's where the theory unravels or deepens depending on who you ask. In 2009, a team at NASA, a Goddard Space Flight Center, and a Hollywood film restoration company painstakingly pieced together scattered fragments of the original transmissions from global archives, including copies held by CBS and the Johnson Space Center. The result, a slightly sharper version of the familiar footage, but nothing revolutionary. Critics argue this proves the conspiracy is baseless. If NASA were hiding something, why allow outside experts access to the materials? Believers counter that the true originals were destroyed long ago, and what remains is just the sanitized version. The most compelling evidence against a cover-up lies in the global nature of the Apollo broadcast. The signals were picked up by telescopes worldwide, including observatories in Australia and Spain. Any glaring anomalies would have been spotted by international scientists, making a wholesale deception nearly impossible. Yet the mystery endures, fueled by our instinct to question grand narratives and the nagging sense that history's most iconic moment might still hold secrets in its static. Whether the missing tapes were victims of bureaucratic neglect or something more calculated, their absence ensures one thing: the moon landing will always have shadows for conspiracy theories to hide in. In 1999, astronomers began monitoring a star 1,500 light-years away, expecting to see the regular, gentle dips in brightness caused by orbiting planets. What they found instead defied all expectations. KC 8462852, nicknamed Tabby's star after its discoverer Tabitha Boyajian, didn't just dim. It plummeted in erratic, unpredictable intervals, sometimes losing up to 22% of its luminosity in mere days. No known natural phenomenon could explain such violent fluctuations, and soon, a radical theory emerged. What if this wasn't a natural object at all, but the handiwork of an advanced alien civilization constructing a Dyson sphere around their sun? The concept of a Dyson sphere, first proposed by physicist Freeman Dyson in 1960, is a megastructure designed to harness a star's energy by partially or completely enclosing it. To astronomers scouring the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, Tabby's star's bizarre behavior seemed to fit the bill. The star's light patterns showed no periodic rhythm, ruling out planets, and the dips were too intense for typical dust clouds. Instead, the data suggested something massive and asymmetrical, perhaps a partially built swarm of energy-collecting panels orbiting in chaotic formations. Even more compelling, historical records revealed the star had been gradually darkening for over a century, as if construction was slowly blocking its light. For a brief moment, it seemed humanity might have stumbled onto evidence of a civilization far older and more advanced than our own. But before we rewrite the history books, let's consider the alternatives. Mainstream astrophysicists quickly proposed less sensational explanations. One leading theory involves swarms of comets, not the occasional icy visitor we see in our solar system, but thousands of them, ripped apart by the star's gravity and trailing vast clouds of debris. These fragments could create irregular, deep dimming events as they pass between the star and Earth. Another possibility, a massive ringed planet like Saturn but on a colossal scale, with uneven dust distributions casting erratic shadows. Then there's the intrinsic variability hypothesis. Some stars pulsate or erupt unpredictably due to internal processes, though none match Tabby's star's extremes. The plot thickened when follow-up observations revealed the dimming wasn't uniform across all wavelengths. Dust, as it turns out, blocks shorter wavelengths more effectively, leaving longer ones relatively unaffected, and that's exactly what later studies detected. This finding dealt a blow to the Dyson sphere theory, since an artificial megastructure would likely block all wavelengths equally. Instead, the data pointed to fine, microscopic dust, the kind found in comet tails or collision debris. But the mystery wasn't entirely solved. Why was the dust distribution so uneven? Why did the star's century-long dimming trend not align with any known stellar behavior? Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this debate isn't the star itself, but what it reveals about our search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Tabby's star became a litmus test for how science balances skepticism with open-mindedness. On one hand, jumping to aliens every time we encounter the unexplained is a classic example of the God of the gaps fallacy, filling knowledge voids with wishful thinking. On the other, dismissing unconventional ideas outright risks blinding us to genuine breakthroughs. After all, if an alien megastructure exists, it would likely look nothing like our sci-fi fantasies. It might resemble natural phenomena until close inspection revealed its artificiality. So where does that leave Tabby's star today? While the Dyson sphere hypothesis has faded from favor, the object remains an enigma. New telescopes like the James Webb may soon provide answers, analyzing the dust composition in unprecedented detail. But even if the culprit turns out to be a bizarre cosmic quarry, say, a shattered moon or an interstellar collision, the legacy of this star is secure. It proved that the universe still holds wonders so strange, they force us to question not just what's out there, but how we interpret the clues left in the light. And sometimes the most thrilling discoveries aren't the ones that confirm our hopes, but the ones that remind us how much we have yet to learn. What if the ruins of an ancient civilization aren't just buried beneath Earth's deserts, but also scattered across the rusty plains of Mars? This is the heart of the Mars-Earth connection conspiracy, a theory that identical architectural relics exist on both planets, hinting at a shared, forgotten history. The most famous example, the so-called Pyramids of Mars, photographed by NASA, a Viking 1 orbiter in 1976. These formations, clustered near the Martian equator in a region called Cydonia, bear an uncanny resemblance to the pyramids of Giza, right down to their angular geometry and aligned positioning. Side by side, the similarities are striking enough to make even skeptics pause. Could these really be coincidental rock piles, or is there something more deliberate etched into the dust of two worlds? Let's start with the facts. The Martian pyramids aren't the perfect, smooth-sided monuments of Egypt. They're eroded, asymmetrical mounds rising from the surrounding terrain. Yet their basic triangular shape and the way they're spaced, some seemingly mirroring the alignment of Earth's pyramids with Orion's belt, have fueled speculation for decades. Then there's the Inca City, another Martian anomaly discovered by Mars Global Surveyor in 1998. Named for its grid-like patterns resembling ancient ruins, this formation's straight lines and right angles seem almost engineered. Add to that the D&M Pyramid, a five-sided structure in Cydonia that mathematician Errol Toron once claimed had too many precise geometric relationships to be random, and the mystery deepens. Scientists, of course, have explanations. Wind erosion on Mars can carve sharp cliffs and angular features, especially in regions with layered sedimentary rock. The Inca City's grid, likely the result of ancient lava flows cracking into geometric patterns as they cooled, or dunes cemented into stone over eons. As for alignments with stars, probability suggests that given enough random formations, some will inevitably match celestial patterns purely by chance. But here's where pareidolia, the human brain's tendency to see familiar shapes in randomness, kicks in. We're wired to spot faces in clouds or animals in constellations, so it's no surprise we'd project Earth's archaeological wonders onto Martian geology. Yet the intrigue doesn't stop at pyramids. Take the Face on Mars, another Cydonia landmark initially photographed as a shadowy, human-like visage. When later high-resolution images revealed it as a natural mesa, believers cried cover up, pointing to enhanced NASA images where facial details seemed suspiciously smoothed out. Others noted similarities between Martian craters and Earth's ancient megalithic sites, like the circular patterns of Stonehenge. The most outlandish claims suggest these aren't coincidences at all, but evidence of a pan-solar system civilization, perhaps even our own ancestors who allegedly fled a cataclysmic Mars to settle Earth. The scientific rebuttal is grounded in Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually correct. Mars and Earth share geological processes, wind, volcanic activity, erosion, that can produce similar formations without requiring interstellar architects. The Inca City's lines, analogous to Utah's sandstone fractures, the pyramids, just weathered butts like those in Arizona's Monument Valley. Even the face, under better lighting, crumbles into unremarkable rock. But the persistence of these theories speaks to something deeper. Our longing to find kinship in the cosmos, to believe that if life or intelligence existed elsewhere, it might leave traces we'd recognize. So where does that leave us? Modern rovers like Curiosity and Perseverance have wandered Cydonia's outskirts, their high-resolution cameras capturing every pebble in razor detail. Yet no definitive arches, no carved glyphs, no shattered columns have emerged. Maybe the truth lies in the middle. Mars isn't hiding a mirror of Egypt, but its geology is stranger and more wondrous than we imagined. Every wind-sculpted ridge and dust-filled crevasse tells a story, just not necessarily the one we hoped for. The real marvel isn't that Mars might mimic Earth, but that it challenges us to rethink what's possible in a universe where nature's artistry often surpasses our wildest fantasies. When the United States Space Force launched in December 2019, it became the first new military branch in over 70 years, and instantly, conspiracy theorists saw something far more sinister than satellite maintenance. Behind the polished press releases about protecting orbital infrastructure, whispers spread that the real mission involved shadow wars against alien craft, secret space fleets, or even reverse-engineered extraterrestrial weapons hidden from public view. The government's own statements did little to calm suspicions. Early Space Force recruitment ads leaned heavily into sci-fi aesthetics, featuring glowing space battles and ambiguous threats from beyond. Combine that with decades of UFO lore and classified aerospace projects, and suddenly, the idea of a covert cosmic defense force didn't seem so far-fetched. Let's break down the official narrative first. According to Pentagon documents, the Space Force exists primarily to safeguard critical satellites, everything from GPS networks to military communications, from jamming, hacking, or physical attacks. With rivals like China and Russia developing anti-satellite missiles, the argument goes, America needed a dedicated branch to secure the ultimate high ground. Then there's the orbital debris crisis. Over 120 million pieces of space junk whirling around Earth at 17,000 miles per hour, any one of which could cripple the International Space Station or a billion-dollar satellite. Managing this threat requires tracking and mitigation tasks squarely in the Space Force's wheelhouse, but conspiracy theorists zero in on the gaps between these explanations and the program's scope. Why create an entire military branch with a reported budget of $15 billion in 2023 just for debris and satellites? Skeptics note that existing agencies like Space Command handled these duties for decades. The real answer, they argue, lies in classified operations. Some point to former government insiders like Luis Elizondo, the ex-head of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, who have openly speculated about extraterrestrial vehicles outperforming human technology. Others cite leaked Navy videos of UAPs on unidentified aerial phenomena exhibiting flight characteristics that defy known physics. If these craft are real and potentially hostile, wouldn't a dedicated defense force make sense? The theory gains traction when examining the Space Force's obscure early projects. One initiative, dubbed Olympic Defender, focuses on protecting allied space systems, a vague mandate that some interpret as countering non-terrestrial threats. Then there's the rapid expansion of Space Force bases in areas like Nevada's infamous Area 51 corridor, where UFO sightings have been concentrated for decades. Even the branch's insignia raised eyebrows. Its triangular delta symbol bore a striking resemblance to the Star Trek Starfleet logo, fueling jokes and suspicions about fictional inspiration masking factual preparations. Yet for all the intrigue, hard evidence remains elusive. Mainstream aerospace analysts argue that the Space Force's structure aligns perfectly with foreseeable terrestrial conflicts. China's 2021 test of a hypersonic missile that circled the globe underscored the vulnerability of space assets, while Russia's killer satellite experiments, where one orbiter clandestinely tailed another, proved the need for defensive measures. As for the alien angle, no whistleblower with credible clearance has produced verifiable documentation of off-world threats. Even the Pentagon's 2021 UAP report, while acknowledging unidentified objects, stopped short of claiming extraterrestrial origins. So why does the Space Force conspiracy endure? Partly because space warfare sounds like science fiction until it isn't. The same public that once mocked Star Wars missile defense systems now watches as real lasers are tested to disable satellites. The line between speculative and strategic blurs with each advance, but perhaps it's also about our collective imagination. The void above us has always been a canvas for fears and fantasies, from Cold War dread of orbital bombs to modern anxieties about AI-controlled drone swarms. Whether the Space Force is guarding against alien armadas or just rival superpowers, one thing's clear: the battlefield has expanded beyond Earth's atmosphere, and the rules of engagement are being written in real time. In October 2017, astronomers spotted something unprecedented streaking through our solar system, a mysterious, cigar-shaped object moving at blistering speeds with no visible tail or coma, the telltale signs of a comet. Named Oumuamua Hawaiian for scout or messenger, it was the first confirmed interstellar visitor ever observed. But as scientists scrambled to study it, one shocking possibility emerged. What if this wasn't just a rogue space rock, but an artificial probe sent by an advanced alien civilization? The theory gained traction when Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb analyzed Oumuamua's bizarre behavior. Unlike typical asteroids or comets, the object accelerated as it traveled away from the Sun, something usually explained by outgassing, where evaporating ice creates a propulsive jet. Yet Oumuamua showed no signs of such activity. Its surface appeared unusually reflective, almost metallic, and its shape, an elongated sliver roughly 10 times longer than it was wide, defied natural formation processes. Loeb and his team floated the idea that Oumuamua could be a light sail, a thin, artificial structure pushed by radiation pressure, perhaps even a defunct relic from a distant star system. The implications were staggering. Had we just intercepted someone else's interstellar technology, mainstream astronomy pushed back hard. Alternative explanations soon emerged, like the hydrogen iceberg hypothesis. Since hydrogen freezes solid in the depths of interstellar space, some researchers suggested Oumuamua might be a chunk of pure hydrogen ice. As it neared the sun, heat would vaporize the hydrogen, creating unseen outgassing that explained the acceleration. But critics pointed out that hydrogen icebergs would evaporate long before reaching our solar system, leaving no trace to observe. Another proposal cast Oumuamua as a shard of nitrogen ice ripped from a Pluto-like exoplanet. Nitrogen sublimation could theoretically account for the acceleration, and the object's reflective surface would match frozen nitrogen's properties. Yet questions lingered: would such a fragment survive billions of years in interstellar space intact? The debate reveals a deeper tension in how we interpret cosmic anomalies. To Loeb, relying solely on natural explanations risks a kind of scientific tunnel vision. If we dismiss every unexplained phenomenon as just a weird rock, we might miss evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. Skeptics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and Oumuamua's oddities, while puzzling, don't definitively point to alien engineering. After all, nature frequently produces objects stranger than fiction, from magnetas to rogue planets. What makes Oumuamua uniquely tantalizing is its fleeting visit. By the time we noticed it, the object was already racing out of the solar system, leaving astronomers to piece together clues from limited data. Future telescopes, like the Vera Rubin Observatory, may spot more interstellar objects, offering fresh chances to test these theories. Until then, Oumuamua remains an open question, a cosmic Rorschach test reflecting our hopes, fears, and boundless curiosity about what or who else might be out there. Whether it was a hydrogen iceberg, a nitrogen fragment, or something far more extraordinary, one thing's certain: the universe is stranger than we've dared to imagine. The moon is often described as a dead, unchanging world, a silent ball of rock frozen in time. Yet for centuries, astronomers have documented bizarre, fleeting disturbances on its surface, sudden flashes of light, patches of mist, even shifting shadows where none should exist. These events, collectively called transient lunar phenomena or TLPs, defy the moon's reputation as a static wasteland. Some appear as glowing hazes hovering above craters, while others manifest as pinpoint bursts of brightness lasting mere seconds. The most famous incident occurred in 1783, when renowned astronomer Sir William Herschel observed red glows near the Aristarchus crater, which he initially mistook for volcanic activity. Similar reports poured in over the next 2 centuries, with Apollo astronauts themselves radioing home descriptions of strange luminescence during their orbits. So what's really causing these ghostly apparitions on our closest celestial neighbor? One leading explanation points to outgassing, the release of trapped gases like radon or argon from beneath the lunar crust. The moon isn't entirely geologically inert. Subtle moonquakes and ancient volcanic vents suggest residual activity deep below. When these gases escape, they could briefly scatter sunlight, creating the illusion of hazy clouds. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has detected traces of such emissions, particularly around the Aristarchus Plateau, a hotspot for TLP sightings. But skeptics argue that outgassing wouldn't account for the rapid, darting flashes often reported. For those, scientists suggest meteoroid impacts. The moon lacks an atmosphere to burn up incoming debris, meaning even pebble-sized rocks strike the surface at 40,000 miles per hour, vaporizing instantly into incandescent plasma. These micrometeorite strikes could explain the fleeting bursts of light. Then there's the more controversial theory, electrostatic levitation. Lunar soil, or regolith, is notorious for its clingy properties, charged by relentless solar radiation. Some researchers propose that fine dust particles could become electrostatically suspended, forming temporary dust clouds that catch sunlight at certain angles. The Apollo missions recorded instances of horizon glow, where astronauts witnessed luminous bands near sunrise, a phenomenon later attributed to levitating dust. Could similar mechanisms create larger, more dramatic TLPs? The math is shaky, but not impossible, of course. Conspiracy theories offer less orthodox explanations. Ancient astronaut enthusiasts propose that TLPs are evidence of active alien bases, with lights signaling underground activity. Others speculate they're holographic projections masking secret human installations, a modern twist on the moon matrix hypothesis. The truth, as always, likely lies somewhere in the middle. The moon is far more dynamic than we once assumed, and until we establish permanent observatories there, TLPs will remain tantalizing enigmas. Whether they're gases, impacts, or something beyond our current understanding, one thing's clear: the moon still has a few tricks up its sleeve. For decades, the Hubble Space Telescope has given us breathtaking views of the cosmos, but what if the images we see are carefully curated versions of a far stranger reality? Conspiracy theorists have long claimed that NASA and other agencies meticulously scrub Hubble's raw data before release, erasing UFOs, alien megastructures, or other anomalies that don't fit the mainstream scientific narrative. The theory gained traction when eagle-eyed researchers began comparing unprocessed Hubble images with their publicly released counterparts, spotting inconsistencies that ranged from odd blurs to entire sections seemingly airbrushed out. Could these edits be routine processing, or is there something lurking in the cosmic deep that we're not supposed to see? The heart of the debate lies in how Hubble's images are processed. Raw telescope data isn't a ready-to-print photograph, it's a collection of grayscale exposures captured through different filters, each isolating specific wavelengths of light. To create the vibrant, full-color images we're used to, scientists combine these exposures, adjust contrast, and remove artifacts like cosmic rays or lens flares. This standard practice, known as image calibration, is essential for scientific accuracy, but critics argue it also provides the perfect cover for selective censorship. Take the infamous Hubble UFO incident from 1994, when an image of the Eagle Nebula appeared to show an elongated, cylindrical object hovering near the iconic Pillars of Creation. In the final processed version, the anomaly was dismissed by NASA as a cosmic ray strike. Yet independent analysts noted the object's sharp edges and symmetrical shape were unlike typical radiation artifacts, fueling suspicion it had been deliberately erased. Then there's the case of NGC 3783, a spiral galaxy photographed in 2012. In one raw frame, a cluster of bright geometric shapes appeared near the galaxy's rim, structures some likened to massive floating pyramids. The final composite image showed no trace of them. Astronomers attributed the discrepancy to overlapping satellite trails or sensor noise, but the precision of the shapes left room for doubt. Similar anomalies have popped up in images of Jupiter, where raw data revealed unexplained dark streaks near the planet's poles, only for them to vanish in the official releases. NASA explanation: compression artifacts or stray light. Conspiracy theorists, however, see a pattern: one where anything too inexplicable gets processed out of existence. But here's where the science pushes back. Hubble's raw data isn't locked away in some classified vault. It's publicly available in archives like the Mikulski Archive for Space Telescopes, where anyone can download and analyze it. Amateur astronomers and researchers regularly comb through these files, and while they've found plenty of oddities, none have definitively proven extraterrestrial origins. Many UFOs turn out to be internal reflections known as optical ghosts, caused by bright stars bouncing light around Hubble's complex optics. Others are dead pixels or thermal gradients in the camera sensors. Even the most intriguing anomalies, like the so-called galaxy-sized spaceship spotted near the Andromeda Galaxy in 2016, were later identified as overlapping exposures or lens flare effects. Yet the conspiracy persists, partly because image processing is inherently interpretive. When scientists remove noise or enhance contrast, they make judgment calls about what's real versus what's interference. That subjectivity leaves room for skeptics to question whether inconvenient truths are being filtered out, whether intentionally or not. The irony is that some of Hubble's most fascinating discoveries, like the unexplained dark flow of galaxy clusters moving in unison, challenge existing cosmology far more than any blurry UFO ever could. If there's a cover-up, it's not hiding little green men, it's hiding how much we still don't understand about the universe. So while Hubble's censored images make for gripping conspiracy fodder, the reality is both simpler and more profound. The cosmos is messy, and untangling its secrets requires as much art as it does science. Every edited pixel represents a choice, but whether those choices conceal alien visitors or just the limits of our own perception is a mystery that not even Hubble can fully resolve. If the universe feels a little too perfect, like every cosmic anomaly and unexplained phenomenon is part of some grand design, what if that's because it is designed? Welcome to simulation theory, the mind-bending idea that our entire reality, from distant galaxies to the atoms in your hand, might be nothing more than an advanced digital construct. At first glance, it sounds like the plot of a sci-fi movie, but when you start connecting the dots between quantum physics, cosmic coincidences, and the eerie glitches astronomers keep stumbling upon, the theory doesn't seem quite so far-fetched. After all, if advanced civilizations could one day create hyper-realistic simulations, why wouldn't we already be living inside one? Take the infamous double-slit experiment in quantum mechanics, where particles behave differently when observed, almost as if the universe is optimizing processing power by rendering only what's being watched. Then there's the unsettling precision of cosmic constants. The gravitational force, the speed of light, even the charge of an electron. If any of these values were slightly different, life as we know it couldn't exist. It's as if the universe's parameters were fine-tuned by, well, a programmer. And what about those space mysteries that defy logic? The inexplicable acceleration of Oumuamua, the bizarre dimming of Tabby's star, or the way black holes seem to delete information. Could these be bugs in the cosmic code? Proponents of simulation theory point to another eerie clue: mathematical perfection. The universe operates on equations so precise they feel engineered. From the fractal patterns of galaxies to the Fibonacci sequences in plants, nature's code looks suspiciously like optimized software. Even Elon Musk has weighed in, famously stating the odds we're not in a simulation are 1 in billions. But before we resign ourselves to being NPCs in some alien's video game, let's hear the counter-arguments. Physicists like Neil deGrasse Tyson argue that while simulation theory is philosophically fun, it's ultimately untestable and therefore not science. Others note that glitches and anomalies often just reveal gaps in our current understanding, not evidence of a digital facade. Yet the debate refuses to fade, partly because it straddles the line between metaphysics and cutting-edge physics. If the universe is a simulation, who's running it? An ultra-advanced civilization, a future version of humanity. Some theories even suggest we're nested simulations inside simulations, like cosmic Russian dolls. And if that's true, what happens when the beings upstairs pull the plug, or worse, decide to hit reset? Whether you find the idea terrifying or thrilling, simulation theory forces us to confront a profound question. In a cosmos where the boundaries between science and philosophy blur, how do we define real at all? After all, if the stars above are just pixels in some grand design, the greatest space conspiracy isn't about hidden bases or alien cover-ups. It's the possibility that none of this, including us, is what it seems. From staged moon landings to ancient Martian cities and interstellar barriers holding humanity captive, the universe, or at least our interpretation of it, is far weirder than we've been taught. These theories, whether grounded in genuine anomalies or wild imagination, reveal something fundamental about us. We're hardwired to question, to probe the shadows for answers beyond official narratives. Think about it. Why does the idea of a hollow moon or a secret Mars colony captivate us so deeply? It's not just about aliens or hidden truths. It's about the thrill of possibility, the notion that reality might be stranger than the stories we've settled for. Consider the Black Knight satellite, a legend that persists despite scientific debunking, or the eerie face on Mars, which still sparks debate decades after high-resolution images reclassified it as a mesa. These aren't just conspiracy theories, they're cultural artifacts reflecting our longing for connection in a vast, seemingly indifferent cosmos. Even the most outlandish claims, like NASA airbrushing UFOs from Hubble images or the Solar Warden's interstellar fleet, tap into a very real skepticism about power and transparency. Whether it's governments hiding extraterrestrial contact or ancient civilizations seeding pyramids across planets, these narratives thrive because they fill the gaps in our understanding with something more thrilling than uncertainty. But here's the real takeaway. The value of these theories isn't in their truth, but in the questions they force us to ask. Why does Tabby's star dim so unpredictably? What really caused those lost 2 minutes of Apollo 11 transmission? Even when the answers are mundane, the act of questioning keeps science honest and curiosity alive. After all, some of history's greatest discoveries began as ridiculous hypotheses. So keep digging, keep wondering, because the next cosmic enigma might not be a conspiracy at all, but a breakthrough waiting to happen. Now it's your turn. Which of these theories left you questioning everything? Do you think we're alone in the universe, or is the truth hidden in plain sight? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries that make our cosmos so endlessly fascinating. The universe is full of secrets. Let's uncover them.